Welcome to the Speak with People podcast, where we believe that healthy communication is the key to unlocking your leadership potential. We are the go-to resource for leaders looking to greatly improve their communication skills, whether it's one-on-one interactions, team settings, public speaking, or digital communication. By improving these skills, leaders can create stronger connections and drive positive change within their organizations. Each and every episode, we sit down with experts from various fields from around the world, just like you're grabbing a coffee with them, to dive into real, practical conversations. Our goal is to help you transform your communication skills so you can lead more effectively, build stronger relationships, and make a lasting impact. So go grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's learn together. Well, how do you, as a financial professional or a sales professional, cut through the noise of a crowded marketplace? How do you stay top of mind with your potential clients, with the prospects you've been developing a relationship, and then with your current clients so they remember who you are and the services that you bring? And then how do you start amplifying your business in a way that builds trust, that compounds, and then lasting success? Well, welcome back to the Speak with People podcast. I'm your host, Jason Raitz. We believe great leaders just don't speak. They connect, they inspire, they lead through healthy communication. I am thrilled today to introduce Jeremy Hauser. He's VP at InsurMark, a leader of the Advisor Mentorship Program. He has spent years equipping advisors with the tools, processes, mentorship needed to carve out their unique path to growth. And I have been loving his podcast. We're blessed as a podcast to have many opportunities to pick from for guests. And it's not often that we go out and ask someone to be on. And Jeremy was so gracious when we came to him with the ask. And so I can't wait to dive into this. So whether you're an advisor looking to amplify your business, a leader looking for new ways to communicate with clarity and influence, this conversation is for you. Jeremy, thank you so much for being on the Speak with People podcast.
No, man, appreciate the invite. Look forward to our nice little conversation here for your audience. Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely. Well, hey, before we hop into some of this, could you kind of give us the 30,000 foot view of you, your story, who you are, what you do, kind of what's brought you to this place?
Yeah, so 30,000 foot, I would say I've actually worked with InsurMark here for 14 years.
Wow.
So I've been helping individual advisors. Didn't come through the wirehouse shop, although I did shadow a Edward Jones advisor when I was playing ball in college. So come home for the summer and got to actually shadow a Edward Jones guy, local advisor. It seemed very interesting. I love the whole concept of money, finance, kind of got to see that client interaction. Similar to maybe your story, I just didn't see myself every single day wanting to work with the consumer necessarily. I thought there was a bigger impact. So I actually got into this industry where I helped with my professional background of being a ball player through college, St. Edward's University. So we actually, unfortunately, I realized quickly I wasn't going to be making it to the big time. So I made that tough move, 18 years of playing at 22 years old, to decide, you know what, I'm just not going to go ride a bus for $14,000 and try to live that dream. So I decided to bring my aspirations of coaching to the financial services industry. Got an opportunity to actually start working with InsurMark, an incredible opportunity, independent advisors. So really, when I talk to people nowadays in my 30s, so I'm 37 now, it was truly a blessing because I got the opportunity to hear from successful entrepreneurs talk about how they left the wirehouse or how they left and wanted to join and start their own business. So I got to hear basically the processes from top advisors across the country. And so over a decade later, getting the opportunity to share it, I started to notice there was a unique, I'd say, gap in our space of just advisors feeling like they were on an island. And so AMP was formed basically in 2017, Advisor Mentorship Program, where we had an opportunity to connect like-minded advisors through short, small, little intimate mastermind groups. And the numbers are incredible. So the group of business that was actually generated from that year over year of the last 8 years has just completely gone. I'd say close to about 10x now. So for Primarily, so the advisors we work with, they are RIAs. Didn't start out that way, but majority are now RIAs, insurance advisors. So they actually do annuities, life insurance, assets under management, and also asset-based long-term care. So those are usually the ones that we work well with. But we do everything from helping them for building their business, hiring people, marketing, what customers are looking for. One of the things I'd have your audience write down is a big focus for 2025 is what sells for you when you're gone. So trying to make advisors have an opportunity to just basically duplicate themselves. We all have 24 hours in the day. And so you have to really lean into tech, video marketing, and other things that we'll share here on today's show of how advisors are able to build trust credibility nowadays, where it doesn't cost you that extra 30 minutes for the same conversation you would have had 4 days ago with John Smith. Now you're talking to Paul. You might as well go ahead and have a recording to send people. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those processes. But yeah, pretty exciting. And then personally, married, that was probably when life really took off for us. So I would say marrying my better half in roughly 8 years ago, and we have 3 kids now. So we are truly blessed. So living the dream, I'd say.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Let's go back. So what sport did you play?
Played baseball.
Ah, okay.
Are you a
Fantastic.
baseball guy?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. If I turn the camera, I've got my, all my, I got a Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, my kids
Oh,
playing
yeah.
baseball, my For the Love of the Game poster from Kevin Costner. So we moved to Tampa about 5 years ago. And so we're with an hour of 5, spring training parks,
Oh,
Yankees,
yeah.
Phillies, Pirates, Blue Jays, Tigers aren't far, 2 hours from the Red Sox, Braves, Orioles. So yes, love baseball.
I'd say that's a solid group of teams in the spring training area you're at. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, spring training ball is just the best. It's amazing. Last fall though, I did get to go see a Rangers game, and so that was amazing. Their stadium in Texas there was out of this world, and so yeah, I'm on this path of trying to get to all the ballparks. So
It's a good path. Yeah.
that's
And
incredible.
baseball has incredible lessons. So I've actually learned too, and it helps craft messaging. I know a lot of what you do is speaking, communication to customers. People love stories. People love analogies. Baseball is literally life. I remember wearing that shirt as like a 5-year-old all the way to the time I was 11 years old. And really, as you get older, you're like, baseball really is life. You just got to
Mm.
be patient. You have to be able to craft your story. You got a team result. So the wins and losses stack up based off team. But when you're in the batter's box, I mean, you got to do your job. So that's where it comes down to as advisors, especially where if you're the founder, CEO of your company, it's important. I mean, when that bat is in your hands while you're hitting or when you're stepping up to the plate, whatever the situation is, you have to generate either a run yourself. You have to be the first one to get on base. You have to, whatever you got to do to win the game, you got to make sure that you're doing your part. And so that's why baseball is incredible because you can't do it alone. You need a team. And that's the same thing with running a business. So sorry about the tangent of baseball. I love baseball.
I love it. It's perfect. I was just going to follow up by saying, I think it was Ted Williams. I fell in love with Ted Williams years ago. So I think he was the first to say hitting a baseball, toughest thing to do in all of sports. I just saw an interview with Deion Sanders not too long ago, and he said the same thing. I mean, you played at a high level. Is that your assessment as well?
I would say yes because I couldn't get past the next tier. So I would say it's tough. But really when people get to a certain level, it's I like go back in my head to remove myself 10 years later from baseball, and
Mm,
I think to myself, I'm probably a better player today than I was if I actually played without picking up the bat, just because I'm in a better headspace. I'm in a
mm.
better mental capacity of realizing like you got to be patient. You got to let the game come to you. It's okay to either be too aggressive in the box. It's okay to like just approaching the game probably differently. I was just a different kid back in the day. So, but I could say all of a sudden when those balls start to get to 95, 96, 97, and they're actually dropping, a little challenging. Now people are throwing like 104 miles per hour. So I don't know. That's not my game.
It's just wild. I,
Yeah.
I was gonna say there might still be opportunities for you with the Savannah Bananas. They just keep adding teams, and
Yeah, I got two left feet. There's no way I'm getting out there and doing the break dances. But that is actually, but that goes back to that entrepreneur spirit. That guy saw an opportunity and he is absolutely killing it.
yeah.
And it's great for the family. That's a great, yeah, that's on the list of things to do to go check out.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, as a baseball purist, I was very hesitant because I'm like, okay, that there's some fun rule changes. There's no bunting. There's if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. There's things like that. That game's only 2 hours. But as a purist, I'm like, ooh, there's some of it where I don't need the 27th dance. Like I'm okay. Well, I love it. We could talk baseball the entire time, but let's hop into this kind of idea of standing out. Advisors are sales professionals. We all kind of struggle with this staying top of mind. What do you see as maybe the biggest reason most just kind of blend in or, you know, don't stay top of mind?
Yeah, I'd say it's a good question. And I think the one thing that really we try to train our advisors with, and we really dug in deep about 3 years ago, is the fact of the founder story. So, what can separate you? I mean, you can only control what you can control as the entrepreneurial advisor. I mean, you're the business owner, and your founder story is yours. So, founder story and process. So, the only real way to stand out is that client experience once they get to meet you. What was that like? Just like Amazon, I used to talk about this a lot. Amazon Prime, I mean, literally, they have changed the game of just client expectations. Where my wife can all of a sudden break something, and then within 5 hours, all of a sudden, Amazon Prime's dropping that thing off at my house, which is incredible. And by the way, if it's not the right thing, they say keep it, and we'll send you another thing. So it's just like the client's expectations are so high now. And so how do you stand out? It's you got to realize that you're not competing against advisors. You're competing with other industries out there that are just leveling up what they are doing for the client experience. So I think founder story, you got to have a very tight story. You're passionate why you're doing what you're doing. There's something to having a team. So it's not just me. That becomes salesman like. So when you have a team behind you, you have additional people that are telling your story. It just brings more credibility. So a
Mm.
lot of advisors are hesitant about giving away the keys to the kingdom. And I always say, that there's a part to that, but you're not going to see that substantial growth to doing $400,000, bringing in revenue of 400 grand or so. And if you're trying to become $1 million earner, you're not getting there by yourself. You got to have people to delegate bottom or what we would call below the line activities to, but also have additional people on your team to tell your story. It can't just be all about you. Um,
Mm.
as people just don't, that's the reality of what it is. They're going to go online, they're going to Google you. So one of the things we do with it's a webinar that we conducted about a year and a half ago. We'll probably revise a couple things, but if anything, we're just going to enhance it. It's called Systems Work, People Fail. And literally one of the first things that we talk about on that webinar, and anybody of your audience, if they want to see it, I'm more happy to send it to them. The first thing we say is just Google yourself as an individual. I mean, just simply for anybody who's listening, just Google your name, and Google is going to tell you if they are an advocate of you or if they're your biggest competitor.
Ooh.
Because I mean, that's where all of a sudden, like, I'll have a call with an advisor and they'll Google themselves, and I'll have them share their screen. They'll show me what Google says, and they're just like, huh. And that's where you got to have the right resources to help build that out, because perception is reality. So I think there's a lot of different things, but just starting with the basics of having a founder story and considering hiring people to help with that below the line activities of what you're currently doing, and most importantly, your own process. That's your baby. So people will remember you through your process and your story more than anything.
Wow. That's great. That's great. And it's so interesting. I love that you brought this stuff up the top. Uh, I think sometimes, especially in the conversations I've had with advisors, salespeople, they're like, okay, I know my product pitch. And, that's the only thing they practice. They don't make sure they understand their founder story. They don't make sure they understand even little things of like, how do you introduce yourself? You're walking on the soccer field, you see one of your clients, and then all of a sudden the client says, "Oh, you got to meet my next door neighbor, Dan." Like, are you ready in that moment to share something that will be memorable and will stick? Because you only have, 30 seconds to, a couple of minutes. And so, being able to work through those stories. Have you found any great resources or help? I mean, you guys probably you do this training with folks, but or frameworks that kind of help advisors, salespeople work through those things?
Yeah, so we do have a whole training process. We actually call it here advanced sales training. And so like it's a day and a half event, so advisors can go to it, and it's really more so. I call it man in the mirror, woman in the mirror moment. It's a great
Mm.
training headed up by one of our EVPs here at Simplicity Group. It's Jason Jenkins, incredible speaker, TED Talk and all. Does a really good job of getting the best out of people. But I mean, it's homework. So we give you a binder, we're making you write down your founder story, we're helping you craft that particular message, getting you good at it. And then from there, it's not just left to the advisor to where they're giving that maybe at workshops or during every single one of their appointments. We actually bring them into our studio here in Houston, and we actually record it for them. So
Ah,
having that live and breathe on the website. Just a resource, especially a lot of our advisors do virtual appointments. It's not all just in
yep.
person. So very powerful to have something of reference, at least to send to a prospect prior to meeting with them. And once again, it's, and they'll still probably still do their story in front of them live, but it's just a resource where people can get to know who you are without you physically having to be there.
Boy, that's so powerful. And I love that you bring him into the studio because as you can uh, explain in great detail, all the pressure of stepping into the batter's box. Uh, Professional leaders still, that one-on-one or when they're put under the pressure of standing in front of a room and then having to share it. Boy, lots of professionals still don't like that, but just that experience of having to do it in front of people, boy, crafts you, molds you, transforms you, and then to get that coaching, you're so ready. What balance do you see with the advisors that you guys mentor when it comes to the ones that are can't wait to be there, want to lean in, and then maybe the ones who, okay, someone told them, "Hey, you need this," and they kind of walk in with that hesitancy. You know, is this really going to help? What kind of balance do you guys see?
I would say for the ones on my team, if they're going to the event, we've figured out a process to really make sure that it's not wasting anybody's time. Because at the end of the day, just like all of us, 24 hours in a day, you don't want to waste any minute of that because we understand any minute that is taken away from the advisor being in front of customers is a minute that they're not making money. So the benefit of what we actually have found is that we actually make the advisor pay. So that the advisor is willing to pay for their airfare, pay for their hotel, and go to the training itself. That right there is saying that,
Yeah.
okay, it's not kicking the tires, I'm going to go. Now, granted, after the event itself, we do reimburse them based off of production and business that they're doing with us. But every single person that we send to these particular trainings, and then they come back, all of a sudden they have their story, we're recording their story, they have the confidence level to where they're converting prospects. It's just it's a process, it's a system, and so it's just buy-in at the end of the day. So if someone's not willing to pay the $400 for whatever the flight is, and then the $200 a night for 2 nights, I mean, it says a lot about somebody of like where they're at in their business and where they're trying to go, and they're not at the level of where maybe our resources could be a fit because they're just not checked in at the moment.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, there's just something different when they're willing to, swipe their card. They're going to lean in. It's the same thing, with working out and health coaches and, all that kind of stuff. Like it's great, when a buddy is pushing you on and challenging you, you can get really far ahead. But that moment you hire that coach, You're like, okay, I'm going to show up 10 minutes early to the gym, and I'm going to make sure all those things are done and ready to go. Let's go back for a second. You talked about the founder story, and you talked about the client experience. And I mean, how incredible, the client experience is. We were just talking about the Savannah Bananas, and
Hmm.
they, I mean, they just have taken over. It seems. I mean, they're selling out 80,000 seat stadiums, and Jesse Cole talks about the client. The he wants to create raving fans all the time. Uh, you know, you guys work on this really hard. Are there any tips and tricks? Are there any nuggets that you've just experienced when it comes to, going the extra to be able to provide, that top notch client experience?
Yeah, I think people want to be led. So they want to be a part of a group that they feel, once again, goes back to there was a gap. Like-minded advisors. So our team helping put together, I would say we would do, like, based off business, we would do our kickoff year events themselves. So whenever we would bring advisors in based off the volume of business they're doing with us, and we would do a 2.5, 3 day actual business planning training. Then the advisors get to see firsthand of us treating them the way that they obviously should be treated. So we're going to, depends on where we're at, we're going to some, like we did one in Houston recently that stood out. A lot of advisors, we went to Miami, we rented out a boat, we ended up just having a good time in Miami. And then just like giving them experiences of that they don't necessarily get just off the street itself, to
Yeah.
then generate ideas in their head of, you know what, I should probably start doing stuff like this for my own customers because of the way it makes me feel and the way that I'm feeling appreciated. So then it goes back and it's just like, it's just the downstream effect. So now they're utilizing some of these strategies itself. And I mean, anything out there. So client experience, people, in order for them to become customers, it's two things. Even if they don't drink beer, it's basically, do I like you and can I get a beer with you? That's all
Mm.
people want. Do I like you and do I trust you enough to where I can go grab a beer with that person? So if you can, in your process, check off those two boxes, most of none, you're probably 80% of the way there of getting them as a customer. But from there, the courting doesn't start. Communication is the most important thing out of all of it. So that's why we implement systems and processes where advisors are sending out not just blanket emails that are just like, hey, here's the market recap. They're thoughtful messaging. We have actual copywriters that we're partnered with that help craft messaging to help the advisor with very unique conversations, and they're pertinent to the timing of what's going on around tariffs or around whatever the conversation is, just keeping the customer engaged to where, although they're going to be scrolling their phone or going somewhere else for information or hearing that story from the brother-in-law, we just want to make sure that we're staying top of mind for them and they know that their advisor is providing value throughout that. Because interesting enough, actually, I just did a podcast with somebody who will air later on this month. There was I think it was a Gala report that basically 70% of individuals right now in the workspace are basically not even happy at where they're at. So 70% of people are at their job, so however long they are throughout the day, and they're not even all in and invested in what they're currently doing. So they're constantly out there looking for other things. So financial advisors are the exact same way. You got to make sure that you're providing the right service, because I think the crazy stat was out of I'm sure you're familiar with the silver tsunami. So over the next like 20 years, there's, I think, 72 trillion that's going to be transferred from baby boomers to younger generations. And the statistic that we found was basically 12% of those assets actually stay with the current advisor.
Wow.
So think about that. So $72 trillion dollars, out of those from the baby boomers going to Gen X and then going to the millennials and so on and so forth, 12% of those individuals who are the beneficiaries will stay with that advisor. They're going somewhere else. So, so it doesn't matter about who you're getting in front of, who the new people are. You got to have client experience with the younger generation and making sure they're buying in on the process, or all the efforts you're doing for new business is going right out the door for those customers of yours that you think you have a really good relationship, but you don't know their kids. So just a
Wow.
little.
I love that. That's powerful. I was with a group of advisors from Mountain America Credit Union, Salt Lake City. We were at the Salt Lake City Country Club. I mean, it's just like, the first tee box, it's like mountains. I'm like, this is
So
crazy.
cool.
And we're in a room, and it's some of their top advisors, 15 of their top advisors, a couple of VPs, one female in the room, which, across the industry, females tend to be a lower percentage. And we start talking about this, just, hey, are we males? Are we working on our communication with females? Because as this tsunami hits, this wealth transfer from boomer males to spouses or their millennial or Gen Z children, like
Hmm.
that number 12% stay, like, are you working on communicating with all of them? And not throwing the dudes under the bus, but a lot of them are like, yeah, yeah. And the woman VP stands up and was like, no, you guys need more work than this. And it was just a
Yep.
good challenge of like, communication is one of those things where I think most of us are like, yeah, I do a pretty good job. This is just how I communicate. But maybe not often we're going, okay, what do I need to improve? No, seriously. Is there something that's, disconnecting? Is there something that's off putting? Tell me what it is so I can improve and, be able to do that. And I think that's, the work that you guys do as I followed along. I'm like, it's just so important because to have that coach, I'm sure you had hitting coaches throughout the years. It's like, okay, Jeremy, okay, remember elbow, or you're opening your hips too quick, or whatever it is. We have to get the same feedback for our
Hmm.
communication, for our leadership. It's just powerful when we do.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think I would say also to the ones that are one thing I mentioned earlier. So, what sells for you when you're gone? So, some of the things that's very challenging for the older people. So, advisors that are, I would even say in their 50s, 60s, and so on, like they're not going to, if they haven't already, the human brain and like who you are as a person based off habits. Once you're 36 years old, it's tough. You're not
Mm.
changing who you are. So if you're over 36, so I officially am over that threshold, it's tough to make any changes to your habits that you've created your whole life. So therefore, if you're not doing social media, if you're not doing certain things of like posting or investing in yourself to learn AI and videos and so forth, you have to go find the right people to bring those type of resources into your practice without you physically having to be the one to do it. You got to go realize that, you know what, this is a gap in my business. I need to find somebody who's younger, bring them in to have that type of story and communicate to the younger generation. Because quite frankly, the Gen X, the millennials, will they go to dinner seminars in the future? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they do. The first Gen X are actually turned 60, I think, this year, which is crazy. So therefore, will they do the same type of marketing work for that? I don't know. I do know that Gen X and millennials, the study came out that roughly they spend about 6 hours a day on their phone. So that could be emails, that could be other
Yeah.
things, but that's where the market is to keep the eyeballs. We call it control the eyeballs. So if your brand is not having a digital footprint or messaging, it's very impactful to make sure that you have some form of content that people can go and find you without you necessarily having to be there. And one of the numbers that I would share, it was from a Google Analytics. So Google data shared, it's called CAM. So this is actually Change Activation Model. CAM is the acronym. So Google and Forbes did a study with all the data that they've collected. And based off their study, similar numbers, they found that for consumers to buy, so consumers actually purchase anything from somebody, it can be online or just build enough trust to buy into a business, they need to have at least 7 hours of content for the consumer to feel like they've built enough trust and credibility to purchase from that particular individual. They need 11 touch points minimum. This study was done in 2024, so it's probably even higher today. So 11 touch points in the sales process to feel like they are being communicated to and then their brand. So that actual company that you're about to buy from, it needs to have 4 different forums that they're found on. So that can be it you're emailing these individuals with your brand, you send something in the mail, a newspaper ad, radio commercial, it can be YouTube, it can be LinkedIn. So 4 different
Wow.
forums. So what we've done over the last couple of years is really took that to heart, and a lot of our advisors are now starting to expand their content and their brand for what sells for them when they're not there. And they're finding, to use like a baseball analogy, um, instead of it all depending on them, once a prospect comes into the fold, if they're up to bat and that consumer is not necessarily on first base like usual, so a lot has to be done to get that person all the way home
Mm.
for the advisor. So what we find is because we have the right content and the right resources to help educate the consumer with the advisor, so during that courting process, by the time the advisor has that appointment with the customer, we can at least get them to second or third base beforehand. So at that point, the advisor just can't screw it up. That's really what it
Yeah.
comes down to. We built enough trust to where a lot of the usual questions that come up in the first appointment doesn't necessarily happen. So 7-11-4 CAM is something that your listeners should really think about, especially going into their business for 2026.
Wow. Wow. Isn't it interesting? I mean, I know so many of the listeners can relate, but we're like, okay, put it online. How come nobody, is contacting me? Okay, that's once, and this is looking at 11. Like, wow, that's powerful. And that just goes to the old leadership lesson, vision leaks. And so you just have to continue telling the story. Like way back to the beginning, talking about the founder story and the client experience and, how important it is to just keep doing that is just incredible. You talked a little bit about processes, how important. I know it's easiest softball question. I didn't mean for so many baseball softball analogies, but I love it. We're just running with it. For such kind of a soft toss question here, but how important are those processes? Like making sure, especially your question, what sells for you when you're gone? I mean, wow. Like if so many of us ask that question, we would get so much further ahead, but we then need the processes to be able to do that. Like what about the advisor who's like, okay, where do I even start with that?
Well, they, and I think it's a good question. Where do they even start? If they start by Googling themselves, honestly.
Mm.
Just by Googling themselves, they'll see what their customer is going to see about them before they meet. I saw something recently this week on social media that the amount of people that are now looking into AI. So people, it's not like they are booking an appointment and they're just sitting on their hands. I mean, they're looking into who they're about to meet with. So they want to go look for Google reviews. They're going to AI, put that person's information
Yep.
into AI to
Yeah.
see what exactly is being pulled. So I mean, it's no longer just you're your own enemy. It's now you got a lot of different forces that can work in your benefit, or it can be something that can hinder you. So it's your choice as a business owner to make sure that you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's. Where if you know where some blind spots are in your business, go ahead and approach. Make sure you have Google reviews. Send that out to your most loyal clients. I would also say some of the processes advisors do is they have a client advisory board. So they make sure that they have their most loyal customers that they can refer people to throughout the sales process to where they can learn about what it's like to work with John. So there's so many different things, but
Wow.
also you can't be just one advisor who's talking to necessarily one customer and anticipate and expect them to want to do business with you just because of you. That's where figuring out what are those items that are below the line. So like the founder, they shouldn't be just like a doctor. You're not the one following up with people. The doctor's not calling you saying, "Hey, are you going to come in? Just want to make sure you're coming here." No, you're actually seeing your doctor whenever you book that appointment. You probably have like 4 texts. It's almost annoying. 4 texts about, "Hey, here's your appointment. Make sure you're not forgetting this," and then they're calling somebody else in the office, just making sure you're coming to the appointment. But you see the evolution of what that looks like, because that is where the client experience has gone. But also, the doctor's not the one doing that. You're having people in the right place to build up the story of, you just got to get on this doctor's calendar. You got to get to them. And so, same thing for advisors. You can't be the one chasing down the people who maybe said, hey, I got to kick that appointment from Tuesday to Thursday. And then now you're the one rebooking it. You can't be the one also booking your calendar. You can't be the one that's now following up on paperwork. You just have to get those below the line items to somebody else. And so our team helps with hiring those particular people, because people actually, there's a lot of people that love doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, they really love genuinely doing it. And then the advisor can focus their time and efforts on the things above the line, where they can actually go in and just see customers, and they have other people telling their story. They have technology telling their story, where eventually by the time they get to you, that person is on third base, not first, by the time you talk to them. So that's process is very, very important. And they're going to judge you, because in about 3 hours after your appointment, they're getting a Facebook ad saying, hey, come join my webinar that's later on tonight. And now they're a part of someone else's process. So you got to make sure you stand out very good.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful. As we kind of wrap the conversation, let me finish with this question. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, especially you talked about, those advisors, those professionals who want to keep, hitting those sales goals. How do you stay focused for the long-term vision? So many distractions, so much going on, market pressures, all the things are happening all the time. What advice would you give to financial professionals listening, sales professionals, to keep focused on that long-term vision?
Yeah, I would say control what you control. So when it's all said and done, you control what you control. I would say raise your floor. So every year you should challenge yourself. Just like any business, any successful, thriving business or business owner, they set goals. They set, I would say, incentives. So making sure that people within their company are aligned to the goals of the organization. So those are things that you can control. You can't control what the market does. You can't control. You just can't control so many things. But what you can control is not the fact of just you raising your standards and raising the floor of what your organization is doing, but waking up early, putting in the work after hours. When you're not getting the pat on the back, you're not being, I guess, recognized for all the things that you are doing. And then all of a sudden they're like, man, you just had a huge break. It wasn't the big break. It was the 10 years, the 8 years that nobody was seeing you
Right.
consistently every day get better. There's a great book, Atomic Habits. I read it so I don't read them. I actually listen now to Audible books. So Atomic Habits with James Clear. Many of your listeners probably have listened to it, but I would say still listen to it. Listen to it. I listen to it every November. So every November, I'll listen to it for my runs for like the month of December. And you will just continue to be a different person every time you listen to a book like that, to where it's going to be like, I get this. It didn't make sense back then, but I get it today. Because what you can actually control is every single day what you're doing. So I would say become a advocate reader. I would say that would also be something to where control what you control, wake up early, become a reader, listen to books, the downtime in the car when you're driving to appointments. Just don't stop listening to music. It's a waste of your time. Listen to books, get in the right mindset. A great book for all my advisors this year that we are doing our business planning calls for is Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business. So if you're an entrepreneur that's looking to build, grow, and scale your business, I think it's Gino Wickman. Traction is an amazing, amazing book. They talk about the 12-week year. They talk about Good to Great from James Collins. It's a lot of good books that you've probably listened to in the past, but it's just really summarized really well in Traction. So control what you control. And I would say that would probably be the best thing for your listener in order to continue to hit your goals each year is just get better tomorrow. That's it. Better tomorrow.
Wow. Goodness. What a way to end. Well, Jeremy, I've taken 2 pages of notes. This has been powerful, profound. You've given us so many incredible nuggets. Before I let you go, let me ask you a couple rapid fire questions. We're building this online
Yep.
database with tons of resources. People kind of get, inspired. Is there a speaker that every time you hear them, you just, they check the boxes, fill the bucket, you love to recommend them? Is there a speaker that falls into that category?
Oh man, a lot of speakers. So, a lot of good ones. It depends on what you're looking for. If you want to become wired as opposed to inspired, Dr. Kevin Elko, and I know you do some work with some of the companies. He's a great. We've had him at our Founders Club for 3 consecutive years now. Our advisors love him. He actually just helped coach, or he's the mental coach for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. So doesn't hurt that he has some of those accolades. He also was Nick Saban's head coach. So the guy aligns himself with winners and helps winning championships. So Dr. Kevin Elko is good. I would say another one that is definitely worth looking into would be Duncan McPherson, who is Pareto Systems, and that is more of just process and system. And if you're looking to build a scalable business, he is probably the best out there.
Oh, I love it. Not everyone's podcast listeners, but if you are, is there a podcast, either guilty pleasure, sports, true crime, whatever, or development that you just keep going back to, highly recommend?
Podcasts. I would say, well, right now, so I've actually, when I listen to podcasts at the moment, because I do a lot of Audible books, but the reason I do Audible books during my downtime, because I'm pretty busy with the 3 kids, wife, and all that. So if I actually listen, it's probably Audible books more so, but I
Mm.
can't listen to my Audible books unless I'm running. So I force myself, if I like to listen to the book, I have to be actually running. So this year I'm running 1,000 miles. So I'm at like 811 going into September. And so my goal was basically, all right, during these runs, I needed stuff to listen to. So I started picking up Audible books. So that's what I've been listening to. But if there was a podcast, I like guests. And so I'm just trying to stay diverse, what's going on out there. I know Tucker Carlson has some incredible guests on here lately that's talking about like the just the money market,
Yeah,
people from like old administrations, and now they're no longer in the administration. So he's a good one just to get a thumb on the pulse of what's going on really in our world. But
yeah,
podcasts for the most part, I would say you can listen to any of them. You just don't listen to music. That's my number one thing I would say. Don't listen to music anymore. You've heard that song so many times. It's time for personal growth, just
I love
development.
it.
So
I love it.
yeah.
Lastly, and you did mention a couple of great books already. Is there a book that you just, for every leader, and maybe it is Atomic Habits, so we could stick with that, but is there a book that you just say, hey, if if you can only read one book, this is the book?
Oh man, Topic Habits is good. I'm actually reading a book right now. I forgot the guy's name. It's called Slight Edge,
Mm.
and I think if you are and you've already read Atomic Habits, Slight Edge is a good, I would say, good follow-up book because it's about the little things. I forgot the guy's name, but it's yeah, Slight Edge, and their main story is going back to the message I mentioned earlier. It's just getting better every single day. You control tomorrow. You're not promised tomorrow, but you control tomorrow. So therefore, you just got to get better every single day. And it talks about some incredible milestone stories in there that your audience, if they like the Atomic Habits, that's going to be more in the weeds of how to grow your business. Slight Edge.
I love it. I love it. Uh, I've not met Dr. Kevin Elko. I will next week. He's speaking at the same conference I am, so I just can't
Oh,
wait to
enjoy
sit
it.
in a seat and
Yeah.
I'll just be taking notes.
Oh, good, like one-liners. That's the thing. And it's like once you get a good one-liner, yeah, I'm proud. I'm happy that you're going to.
I can't
He's
wait.
good.
I can't wait. Jeremy, this was incredible. You have given us so much wisdom. I mean, you're so generous in opening up the vault of what you're learning and your company's learning. Where's the best place we could send our listeners? We'll put in the show notes. We'll put it in our email. We can send
Oh,
people to
cool.
find you.
Yeah, they can. So we have a podcast. So I guess I should have said that one, but I didn't. Advisor Mentorship Podcast. So we actually share ideas, best practices from successful advisors. So I'll have my advisors on, and they'll share what's working for them, and then we'll have some experts on sharing just what's going on of building and growing an entrepreneur business. And then if you want to check out our website, it's www.insurmarkamp.com/jhauser. And then you just click on learn more. We actually have an ebook if you want it. More than happy to send to your audience if they click on the learn more section within that website. Or follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube and you name it, we're out there.
Well, incredible. This was just amazing. Thank you for this conversation. Thanks for sharing some of your baseball knowledge as well. And just really appreciate you pouring into our listeners. So thanks again for being on the Speak with People podcast.
Of course. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Speak with People podcast. It means the world to us when you share this episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, or following the podcast. That really does help the podcast get into more ears and into more leaders listening. Also, don't forget, we have 2 exciting resources for you. The first is go to Facebook and join the Speakers Group. This is a community designed for leaders who want to grow their communication skills. Also, go to speakwithpeople.com/skills library to access the Communication Skills Library. It is an online resource chock filled with resources that will inspire you and transform you and grow your communication skills. Thanks again for being a part of the listening community. We cannot wait for the next episode.